Hey everyone, I'm Jess. Welcome back to Glue La La. Today I have 3 nautical inspired home decor pieces, and I used mostly items found at the Dollar Tree. Alright everyone, let's get started. For the first project, I wanted to create a life preserver, so I'm using one of these foam wreath forms from the Dollar Tree, and I believe this one is about 8.5 inches. So I started by giving the wreath form 2 coats of the plaster color by Waverly, and I wasn't too worried if I got the bottom. I was just more concerned about the top and sides. Then to give it more of a life preserver look, I'm using some of this wide burlap ribbon that I found at Michael's, and I'm just hot gluing it in 4 different spaces around the wreath. Now, when I get done with my ribbon, you'll see that I didn't have them spaced out exactly even, but that was okay. If that's something that would bother you, you might want to measure, but I just kind of eyeballed it. Next, I'm using some of this nautical rope, and I'm hot gluing it around the sides of the life preserver. So I started where one of the ribbon sections was glued down, and I hot glued the one end of the rope, and then I went the whole way around the ring, and I just hot glued the rope into the center of the ribbon, but I left a little bit of a loop sticking out so that it looked like the nautical rope was kind of woven around the outside of the wreath. Then when I got back to where I started, I just joined the 2 ends together, and you can see where I had the spacing off by a little bit. The way I'm going to display this, you can't really notice, so that's why it didn't really bother me. And I'm actually going to use this first DIY in conjunction with the second DIY. So for the second project, I'm using one of these small flower and garden buckets that you can find at the Dollar Tree, and I gave it 2 coats of the truffle color by Waverly. Then once both of the coats of that color had dried, I used my same brush. I didn't bother rinsing it out or anything. And I took the mineral color by Waverly, and I kind of mixed the 2 together, and I used that color to dry brush around the edges and a little bit through the center of the bucket. And I didn't paint the whole way down on the inside of the bucket because I knew I was going to be filling it up with floral foam, but I did cover about the first 1.5 inches just to make sure you didn't see any of that metal sticking out. Then I took one of these solar lights from the Dollar Tree, and I wanted to kind of mimic a lighthouse. So I'm using some painter's tape that's about 1.5 inches wide, and I just created chunky stripes down the stem of the solar light. So I added a piece of the tape, and then I used another piece as a spacer, and then I added a third piece, and then I just added 1 coat of the plaster color by Waverly, and I was just going to keep the rest of the stripes black because I liked the black and white look together. To decorate up the bucket, I'm using some of this fishing net decor that they have at the Dollar Tree, and I just cut a piece of it off and I kind of draped it out the one side of the bucket. And this is a good way to use up some of those leftover chunks of floral foam you might have. I just took all of my leftovers and filled the bucket with them, and then I covered the top with some of the Spanish moss, and then I just poked my solar light down into the center, and then I decorated the top with a few seashells. Now, this project and the first project you could keep separate and use as 2 different, but I actually liked them together. I liked how the bucket looked inside the life preserver, so that's how I chose to display mine. I just took the life preserver and I put it down, and then I stuck the bucket on the inside. For the last project, I'm using one of these square pieces of wall art that you can find at the Dollar Tree, and I just removed the hardware from the back, and then I used my utility knife to take the canvas print off of the frame because I only needed the frame for this project. Next, I took the truffle color by Waverly, and I just gave the frame 1 good coat of the truffle color. And then kind of the same way I did with the bucket, I kept my brush dirty with the truffle color, and I used a little bit of the mineral color, and I dry brushed that around the frame just to distress it a little bit. To to create a backing for this frame, I'm using these giant craft sticks that I found at Walmart, and I just laid out so that I could see how many I would need to cover the back of the frame. Then I kind of painted the sticks the opposite of how I painted the frame. So I went through and I painted all the sticks the mineral color, and then I went back over and dry brushed with the truffle color. But after I got done with the dry brushing, I thought the truffle color kind of stood out just a little bit too much. So I did use my sanding block, and I kind of sanded the paint down just a bit to help mute that distressing a little bit more. Once all my sticks were dry, then I trimmed them down to fit the frame, and I was able to hot glue them onto the back of the frame. I did have to cut one of the sticks lengthwise in order to fit across the back of the frame, but if you've watched my videos before, you know that I feel the easiest way to cut craft sticks is to use a paper trimmer, so that wasn't really a big deal. And anything that I ever use in my videos, like my hot glue gun or my paper trimmer, I always have that linked in the description box below. They had these really cool anchors at the Dollar Tree this year, so I bought one of the white ones, and I really liked it how it was. I didn't really want to do much to it, but I did take my sanding block over it just a bit, just to distress it a little bit. And I really liked actually the rope that was tied on the top of it, so I left that there too. And I just took a little bit of hot glue and I glued it right into the center of the frame. I really like how this piece came together, and I liked that even though I used the same colors on the sticks and the frame, there is a little bit of a difference because I reversed how I painted them on. Here's a final look at all of the projects. I think my favorite is, I don't know, maybe, I don't know, I don't think I can pick a favorite this week. Let me know in the comments which one is yours. Alright everyone, thank you so much for watching. If you like these projects, make sure you hit the thumbs up, make sure you're subscribed, ring the bell, do all the things. Have a great week, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye!